Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. Let's take a look at some alt charts. Alts really having a run, alt season or not. We're getting some dispersion. We're getting some tradable moves outside of just BTC. That's how you know it's a bull market. That's how you know, even in legacy, when you have depth, when you have small caps outperforming the Mag 7 or other names outperforming Mag 7, and everything doesn't just move together every day, that's a very good sign. For a bullish environment, you don't need me to tell you that. If you look at dominance, we're down below 60%, threatening a 3-day cloud breach for the first time since 2023, when we broke above in January. 3 days is going to be slow. It's slow on purpose. This is technically the weekly because it's the 6-day cloud, but we're not going to get a cloud twist likely anytime soon. But if you are bullish alts, this is exactly what you want to see. Obviously, you want to see dominance coming down. My issue, as I've said many times, is the people that have been bullish alts all the way up and are still bullish alts. That's really not very useful to anybody. But at this point, yeah, it makes sense to trade around your BTC position, rotate, whatever, just based on dominance. A lot of that has been ETH strength. Slowly, we're starting to see some other coins moving as well. So if you had been sleeping on ETH, you missed that rally. Okay, what's the next one, right? And you just have to be careful that you're a part of one of those rallies eventually, and you're not just missing every rally because you're trading page 76,000 of CoinMarketCap, right? Instead of focusing on the majors. So dominance certainly looks more bearish than it's looked in a long time. You have total 2 over BTC also trying to break above the cloud. Now it did this in 2020 and still got smacked down a couple times. And there's a world where 2026 is bullish. I'm not counting on it. I'm not expecting it, but I think you have to be open to that because there's a possibility we see some sort of mega inverted head and shoulders here on total 2 over BTC. Same thing with dominance, some sort of head and shoulders thing, kind of like we saw here. This was a really tiny one, but you know, again, if we get rates coming down, if we get stimmies, whatever it is, whatever it may be, you'll know when you see it. We're certainly primed for an alt move at the very least, right? And we're also well after the last time we moved, 320 days after having. The reality is you don't want alts moving early. You know, again, everybody wants everything moving 10,000% today, marshmallow test, etc. But if we see that, it probably means the cycle's actually over. I don't think retail is here yet remotely. This is very much a treasury company story and an institutional story and not a retail frenzy story at all. Not yet. Here's total 2 USD, basically just ETH and SOL. It had reached the first target of this measured move of this range. The next target at this point would be the measured move of this range. Didn't quite get your key June bounce like I wanted to. Still looks fine, still looks bullish. I'm sure there's a bear div on this as well. I don't have that on the chart. Stable's still printing, that's good. So there's no real reason to be bearish alts, especially if BTC's ready to push all-time high. There's going to be a give and take here. I noticed ENA was down a bunch today. ETH not up as much as it was yesterday. Some other things moving more today, ARB, right? So collectively, stuff is certainly moving together over time. You know, we're getting this rolling rally across the board on a lot of stuff, not just BTC. I wanted to highlight MSTR versus BITU specifically. If we go back to pre-election, so MSTR is supposed to be, air quotes, 2x BTC. I don't know what that equates to in NAV, if it's necessarily 2x or not, but BITU is 2x. It's got volatility drag. It's got fees. MSTR does not have either of those things. Since the election, pre-election, MSTR has had periods of outperformance. Very recently, it has been underperforming by a lot. So if we zoom in, since May, something happened where this MNAV started to trail off, started to decouple. I still think options are better on IBIT than trading either of these, but this is just highlighting, I wouldn't make assumptions that last forever. There can be periods of underperformance and overperformance for whatever reason, especially with these treasury companies. All sorts of stuff can happen. They can trade opposite on an even day. They can be up 20x any given day, right? Who knows? But if this continues to underperform, there's going to be even less of a reason to hold MSTR. It's got a lot of competition for other Bitcoin treasury companies, for other altcoin treasury companies. And it has not been behaving as you'd expect. It hasn't even been tracking 1x BTC. IBIT's up 2.5 today. MSTR I think is down 1.5 today. So that's not what you want to see if you're trading MSTR. On the NFT front, everything's up and to the right, at least in USD terms. This is mainly because of ETH appreciation. If we change it to crypto terms, Punk floor still 52. ETH, Pudgy floor 14. Not much has changed there. And Bored Apes, not much has changed there as far as ETH floor is concerned. This is probably another very late cycle thing where people have made their money in the less risky thing, ETH, and now are looking for more, right? So it's good on that front. Obviously not good if you're holding NFTs. Yes, they've appreciated in USD, but not so much in ETH. But so again, what's the point? If you're not beating ETH, what's the point? If you're not beating BTC, what's the point? And the watch market has also flatlined here, which is good. For alts specifically, they tend to correlate. It's good for NFTs as well. They tend to correlate. Certainly looks like it's bottomed out in the near term. I thought I'd do these charts live just because things have been up and down a lot today. If we go to BTC on the daily first, we're certainly above the 120 fractal. We're past the ugliness of the candle that was 2 days ago. The target has not changed. The path has been slow. Cloud still says it's go time. Again, there's nothing here that says we can't continue at all. Everything looks fine on high time frames, on low time frames. If we go to the 6 hour, looks fine. I don't even think there's a div on the daily, but let's look. Yeah, I guess there is a div starting on the daily. You're getting a higher high on less momentum. So that might be the only weakness here, but overall, it certainly looks like we'll be fine, especially with legacy at all-time highs. So it's harder to be bearish alts if BTC is still very bullish and has plenty of room to go. I think it would be fairer to get more bearish alts if we are at 150 and we have some sort of pattern up here, some like huge divergence that says, okay, we're going to get a move lower significantly to whatever level. That's when you need to really get worried, because at that point, you tend to see the most craziness, right? The most rotation, the highest outperformance on alts, because BTC slows down. And if we get a move lower, then alts, they lose 25% in a day or something. That is something to think about way down the line, not here. There's also a yearly pivot at 150. First time we're breaking the yearly pivot on a close would be potentially today. So a very good sign that we're going to continue to climb the ladder to somewhere around 150. ETH has continued to push higher. Next yearly pivot on ETH is 51. There's still a USD target on this to 54. I think all-time high is what? All-time high is like 4,800. So we're right there within all-time high. Talked about this yesterday and talked about it on the weekend. But if you think this is going to 10, what do? You probably just stake. You hold it. You do nothing. Make a decision in 2026 January for tax purposes, and that's it. There's nothing else to do, right? But if you're trading this from level to level, this whole zone from 4,000 to 5,000 looks plenty fine to me to let a bunch of ETH go. As a trader, as an investor, as a holder, that's a different story. Do whatever you want to do. But as a trader, this move looks great in that it has played out for the most part. Obviously, it can continue, can slow down, do whatever. There's also a div on this. And I think volume has also slowly started to trickle. And, you can let me know in the comments. There's trillions coming into ETH via treasury companies. I get it. Okay. We'll see it. Let's see it. If you think that's bullish, I'm not saying it's not bullish, but there's no reason to sell if you think that's bullish. I'm just looking at technicals. That's it. ETH BTC also has, I think I tweeted this out today, it's got a level on VPVR at 0.55 if we keep going. Big if. There's certainly no reason to be bearish here just yet. It certainly doesn't look bearish. It's just reached the TA target. That's it. So that was the level. That's the next level up. 0.53. There's a pretty big gap here. So if you're bullish ETH BTC, that would be the next level. I would think about letting some go. But this initial move has played out great. We're not even below the Tenkin yet. The TK lines aren't even C-clamping, right? There's a bear div on here. Divs can last for a long time. We can get an additional bear div higher. I'm not saying it can't go higher. I'm just saying for me, this is good. I'll trade some other stuff. We're also still below the weekly cloud. We did surpass the weekly Kijun, at least for the moment. Typically, we don't just slice through everything in one go. It takes some time, typically. But hey, could it be different? Sure, it can be different this time. Sol ETH has also died a slow and continuous death. There is a bull div on this that may be confirmed. I don't know. We'll see. Getting a continuous lower low with less momentum. Is that enough to rotate ETH into Sol? For some people, it might be enough to start. So something to think about. This is not bullish, right? This is like UNH. It is down, what is this? Down 50% since April against ETH. Certainly not bullish. I'd love to see a pattern on this aside from a div. I'd love to see something else more. You know, we're getting a candlestick. Okay, great. We had a pattern back here. That failed. That continued lower. So we'll see what we get. But a div is a good first sign. A candle, okay. Let's see if we can get, you know, a couple weeks of bottoming or something before this just continues to melt. Sol has broken out of the ascending triangle cup and handle thingamajig. Targets on this are just like ETH. You've got one pattern here, cup and handle. You know, this thing, we'll just draw it out. Cup, handle, kind of a mess, but it's there. That's what this is pointing to. The other pattern would be the full ascending triangle. If you want to go from wick to wick, pick whatever you want, you know, it's higher, right? So if you think that we are going to see all-time highs, there's no reason to let anything go here. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Above the cloud, patterns like it. BTC is bullish. Rotations are bullish for Sol. It has potentially ETF news to come yet, right? There's all sorts of catalysts. There's also treasury companies buying Sol. So all sorts of reasons to just do nothing and hold. We'll see what happens at 250, but I could see this going to 350 by the end of the year if this continues to play out. Ripple kind of hasn't done anything. It broke out and stopped. Still has a measure move higher. Most people that probably listen to this either are trading around stuff and rotating, or they're just like, okay, is he bullish Ripple today? Cool, awesome, right? They don't really care about anything else. So that's fine. There is some opportunity costs holding things that aren't moving when the rest of the market is. But then if you're making too many bad decisions, you're not capturing the positive move on the P&L, right? So yes, I still think this goes higher. I think ADA is another one that I've been very negative on historically, and certainly am still based on the network. The fundamentals I'm extremely negative on. Don't get me wrong. But that's why if I get bullish on the technicals, I think that's important, which I'm bullish on the technicals here. This looks very good. Starting to get back above horizontal resistance, some sort of curved bottom, rounded bottom, whatever you want to think of it. There's a few versions of these on various charts, DYDX, Arbitrum. Where could ADA go? ADA could go, I don't know, back up here. Why not? Right? That's where I would want it to go, which is a little less than a 2x, but it's a decent move. 30 to 60%. Yeah, that's a decent move. So that's how I would be looking at these if I was trading around holistically, right? Would I be sitting in Ripple here? Maybe some percentage of Ripple. I've already sold the majority of my ETH, so I certainly don't have a bunch of ETH lying around. I have more Sol at this point. I like ADA for the first time in, I don't know, a long time, since at least pre-election. This stuff back here, this is kind of useless because this moved with everything, right? So you kind of have to make a decision between 50 different tokens. I like this one today, or I think this one's going to move a higher percentage, or this one's my highest conviction. I don't think you necessarily have to do that at this point in time because you've already had a bunch of stuff move, right? We already have a bunch of rotation going on. The entire market was bullish post-election. Now the market is bullish here, but in a different way, right? We're seeing these rolling moves. So that gives you the opportunity to take advantage of multiple setups at once versus November, which everything, right? Who cares, right? Again, that's less relevant to me. This is actual alpha where you're getting moves potentially outsized relative to BTC. SUI's another one. I'd put it in the Sol camp. I think this fractal is playing out on a majority of charts, let's say, especially charts that have not moved. Almost everything looks like this, which collectively as a column, right? That is the pre-breakout column. And that's where you have to decide, do I like Sol today? Do I like SUI today? Do I like AVAX? Do I like ARB, right? Whatever it is, I would identify that and say, okay, these are X, these are ascending triangle breakouts. I'm going to allocate X percentage to this idea. Maybe it's everything if you like them. Maybe it's 50%, right? I don't know. It's up to you. But this is the same as Solana. Maybe you want to compare measured moves. Maybe you want to compare percentage moves. Something else to think about. But a majority of charts look similar. You know, it's not bearish at all. Say I wouldn't put in that camp. It did negate this potential head and shoulders, at least so far. Potentially, looks good. And I think it was even, it kind of moved on its own back here. It just hasn't really gone anywhere yet, but the cloud still likes it. AVAX I'd put in the Sol Doge Sui camp. I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to draw a triangle using their tool on this video, but you get the point. It's all very similar on a bottom-y type rounded fractal situation. Looks good for higher. HBAR looks okay, kind of consolidating here. I'd put it closer to the Say camp. I don't hate it. You could probably argue some sort of cup and handle thing. It was kind of threatening a double top. It's just, I don't see a breakout here per se relative to these others where they look ready to go on the breakout. Ondo I'd put in that same group, right? It's the same chart. Nothing has changed here. Rounded bottom, ascending triangle, double bottom, cup and handle, whatever. It's all the same. It all measures the same. It all goes to the same place. All dogs go to heaven, whatever. It's up to you to decide, okay, I like this one versus that one, or this one might have something going on catalyst-wise, where you will see outperformance. LTC, I would put in the long-term bucket. This is a disappointment in this market unless this goes at least to 250. And it really should want to retest all-time highs. That's probably a later on thing. I don't think that's a today or tomorrow thing, but I wouldn't trade this with the expectation that it's going to have some crazy breakout relative to the rest of the group. I think simply it needs to go back here to be satisfied with that trade. That's it. Link had some announcement on a reserve. I think thus far the reserve has been pitiful in a word. The buyback program, whatever you want to call it. This has already moved in my opinion. And similar to ETH, if you caught this move, great. You can hold it, you can do nothing. Hasn't quite reached the target yet. But in my eyes as a technical analyst and nothing else, not fundamentals, not talking about reserve, literally nothing else but the lines on the chart, there are better trades elsewhere. That's all I'm saying. Better trades elsewhere on things that haven't moved yet. If there was nothing that was pre-breakout, sure, this is a good looking chart, but you have options here, right? You can shop around. There are other fish in the sea. And it's the same reason if we go to ENA, like, you know, why would you trade ENA up here? I've been selling ENA. It doesn't make sense. Again, what do the technicals tell me? They tell me the move has happened. This is where the move was projected to go. I'm not expecting this to go to 10 today, right? It's saying you got what you wanted. That's it. Thanks for playing. So I'd put this in the already moved bucket. Go a little faster here. Aptos still pre-breakout, looking decent. Probably a laggard relative to the rest of the group. Maker has done nothing. And I really like this as an idea, potentially moving when nothing else was, because it tends to do that. But this, you know, I don't see a reason to hold this anymore. Then watch it just a 50% move tomorrow. But, you know, the cloud says, sure, fine. But relative to everything else, I don't see a reason to hold that. Algo, I would put this in the mixed bag. Not quite a clean pre-breakout move, right? It's like, is this Wyckoff accumulation? I don't think so. Is this a cup and handle? I don't think so. It's closer to HBAR, maybe a lower time frame inverted head and shoulders here. Just not really a super, super clean high time frame setup. Maybe something like that. That doesn't really measure very high is the issue. Relative to everything else, I think there's better breakout trades to think about. Ton has actually started to look okay down here. I mean, it's still kind of done nothing. Still waiting for a breakout. It's above the cloud. It honestly looks like OSOL to me, which is OSOL. You know, it's funny, the fractals look the same. This is discounted Solana. Very low volume, very low liquidity. A similar weird looking fractal, cup and handle, whatever. Triple bottom. Anyway, Ton looks good. Looks pre-breakout. Looks ready to go. ADA we talked about. Dot, similar to Aptos, I put it in that bucket where it's probably going to move with everything else. Still not quite there yet, in my opinion. Same thing with Filecoin. Flow looks better-ish than the previous two. And it's just sort of ranking where they all fit. Once you rank them, and you say, okay, this is post-breakout, this is pre-breakout, then you make a decision. I like this one, this one, this one. I don't like this one. Fine, right? Boom, done. I wouldn't think about it past then. Wormhole W, also pre-breakout, kind of waiting. I just like the percentage gain potential here, measured move. Who doesn't? So I'm holding a little bit of that one still. ICP looks about as good as Filecoin, so that's above the cloud. And maybe you get this late resurgence on alts that have been kind of dead for a long time. If we want to measure this, that's 7 to 850, something like that. That's at least the initial move. One other thing to think about is the 50% move. In this case, it's also 850, but not always. 50% of the down move. But this thing has gone nowhere since February, right? Matic, similar to the rest of them, I'd put it in the Sol, Doge, AVAX bucket. ARB, also starting to move. Unsurprisingly, if ETH is doing really well, if ARB is seeing a lot of L2 flows, ARB looks good. Lido also starting to move. So that one's a little late in my book. ARB looks like it's just breaking out today if we want to measure this, because I know someone's going to ask me in the comments. Something up there, right? I never have a level in mind. It's just whatever the depth of the pattern projected higher. That's what I like. Log fibs, log scale, end of story. So that certainly looks good for continuation. GRT kind of just doing a bunch of nothing, waiting. Looks like the rest of them. TIA, I would not touch this until it is above a bunch of diags in the cloud. Just not for me. STX also just waiting. Bitcoin layer 2, Bitcoin beta, really nothing to say there. Velo starting to break up, looks okay. And again, some people are like, I don't know why someone likes this instead of GRT. I don't know. I don't have any clue. I couldn't tell you why from a technical perspective, why one or the other. They look about the same. If you take the high, take the low, measures, that's a 2x, that's potentially a 3x, right? So maybe you like that one more. I don't know. INJ I'd put in the group as well. Similar to Sol, SWI, Doge, AVAX, same chart, same pattern, same fractal, same idea. Ascending triangle, cup and handle, take the depth, measure it higher. There you go. Here's Doge, by the way, same deal. Yeah, it's the same chart. Nothing's changed there. Near, very similar chart. Nothing's changed there. These all look good, by the way. You know, I might sound like ho-hum about it, but they all look good. FET, kind of neutral. Ocean, neutral. IMX looks decent above the cloud there. ENA, like I said, that one's already made its move. Curve, I'd put in the H-bar bucket. It you know, probably does well, but the question is, can this continue to outperform? I don't know. Some people, again, why people choose one thing over the other, I don't know, but maybe this has a little bit left in it. I just don't see any like chart pattern breakout stuff. Trend is plenty bullish. I just don't see anything readily available there. PIF looks like TIA to me, definitely a laggard. ETC, oddly enough, looks like some of these other charts, you know, for no other reason than it exists and is trading. I would stick to other stuff personally. BNB has really done its own thing. Really nothing to say there. I think that's an all-time high for BNB. It doesn't really move with the rest of the market most of the time. So to me, it's just not something I ever think about. I don't have access to trading it anyway. So I just don't ever look at it really. DYDX, similar to ARB, looks really good. It's making a higher high. And that's what I like to see. Unlike most of these other charts, they have not yet made their higher high other than ARB. And if we look at other trading, what about GMX? How's that look? GMX broke out a bunch. You can tell it's low liquidity, low volume. But I would take a look at ETH layer 2s, ETH liquid staking tokens, governance tokens, exchange tokens. I think that's going to be the next thing. At least the things that haven't already moved. If we look at OP, does that look like? Yep, also looks decent. It's above the cloud for the first time since the election. On the meme side, SHIB looks okay. Pepe looks fine. Bonk looks okay. You know, do any of these to me look better than something else? Not necessarily. If I had to choose, Whiff would be one to think about, as well as Pepe, just because they're still kind of stuck in the range. And honestly, these look like Tesla. These look very similar. Difference is Tesla has broken up from its triangle. It's consolidating here now, but they look pretty similar. That's all I have for this one. A lot of these charts look the same, and you just have to decide as a trader, do I like this one over that one? Do I like leverage here versus there? But the charts that haven't moved yet, the pre-breakout charts, collectively, to me, are all the same trade, all the same idea. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.